safari ride.
Dear fellow adventurers, we may see them again in like 2 weeks maybe. Bye guys!
Bye, safari ride.
Well, Jumbo, everybody, my name is Lindsay. I'll be this at all times for me. You can feel wild, guys. And it looks like we are ready to head into the Aturi Forest. The Aturi Forest is home to a couple of shy animals who are really good at camouflage. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled, see what we can find.
Oh, what is that one? What is that? It's a conquered rat.
Now out here on the right, you're going to see a reddish-brown antelope with white stripes on its bottom. That is an okapi out there. Now the stripes on those okapi make them look a little bit like zebras, but they are the closest relatives to the giraffe, and we can tell by the shapes of their heads. Also on the left here, you'll see these orangey antelopes with white stripes and horns. These guys are bongos, and they are the expert camouflagers out here. Believe it or not, that orange color is one of the first that disappears in the greenery. And those white stripes mimic sunlight shining through the leaves, making them a little bit harder to pinpoint. And they have those horns that point backwards to keep them from getting tangled in the bushes. Out here on the left, if you look on top of the hill, it looks like there is a black rhino having a little bit of a snack up there. That is one of 5 species of rhino, and it is the smallest species that lives out here on the reserve. We'll let him continue to enjoy his snack and keep on moving. Also, if you look on the right, you might be able to see there's a light brown antelope with white stripes hiding behind this bush right here. That is a greater kudu. That's another one of the expert camouflagers out here. They have white stripes on their sides, just like those bongos, to help with that camouflage. And look at that, guys. I told you the animals out here are really good at camouflage, and then a whole bunch of them came out for you to see them, so this must be a pretty lucky truck. Hopefully we keep that luck going as we continue our journey here. We are heading out of the Aturi Forest area, and instead into a little bit more of a wet area, Safi River, which means we're going to be looking for animals that live in or around the water. Out here on the right, you're going to see some grayish-white birds with big bills. These guys are pink-backed pelicans. And you might be wondering how they get that name if they're that grayish-white color, and it's because their backs turn pink during mating season. If you're able to look between some of their wings, their backs are starting to turn pink now, which is pretty neat. And they're hanging out by the water because they do eat fish. So you'll find them near rivers, streams, sometimes even ponds. And a group of them together is a pod, so that is a pod of pink-backed pelicans. I would now recommend keeping your eyes on the water on the left. There are some Nile hippopotamus that have been known to live in this area. If we're not seeing any on the bank, though, it does make sense, as those hippos do spend most of their day down in that water. They can only hold their breath for around 8 minutes, though, before they have to come on up for air. And when they're in the water, they don't exactly swim. They kind of walk and glide along the bottom, and they eat things down there like grasses and other water plants, as hippos are herbivores, or vegetarians, if you will.
I'm scared of them.
And although I'm not seeing any of those hippos, something I am seeing pretty clearly are these Nile crocodile here on the left. Now this is the largest crocodilian species in Africa. You can see a couple of them are hanging out on the bank. What they could be doing is a behavior called basking. So since crocodiles are reptiles, they can't regulate their body temperature on their own. So instead they rely on things like the rays of the sun to help keep them warm, which on a day like today is the perfect day for that. And although they may look big and scary, those crocodiles are really great parents. They can carry their babies' eggs around in their mouths without breaking them. Or if they wanted to help them hatch, they could roll them around and help get some of that eggshell off. And when those croc babies are still really little, Mama will continue to carry them around in her mouth.
Oh.
those aren't the only cool things out on the reserve. There's also a lot of really cool vegetation. So if you keep your eyes on the right side as we swing around this way, we're going to be seeing a really big tree here. Now this is called a baobab tree, though you might have heard it referred to as a couple of other names. One of them being the upside down tree, because it kind of looks like those branches are roots, but they are branches. It also gets the nickname the tree of life because it can contain a lot of water inside of it. And now it looks like we've made it to the savanna. The savanna is a large grassland, which means it's likely going to be home to mostly grazers. Grazers are the animals that eat the trees, the leaves, the bushes, the grass, you name it. But we never know what we're going to find out here, so we'll see if that's all that's hanging out. Now pretty much everything that you see that's green around this area, those animals will eat. So it's really important that we keep areas like grassland safe so those animals do have a constant food source. They are pretty much eating all day. Out here on the left, I see something that isn't a grazer, but instead a carnivore. It looks like there are some African painted dogs out here. Now those painted dogs aren't true dogs despite the name, so they don't bark like dogs either. Instead, they make kind of a high-pitched chirping and squeaking communication. They are some of the best pack hunters out here in Africa. They are successful almost every time they go hunting. Also out here on the left, if you look back towards the tree line, you're going to be seeing some reddish-brown antelopes with skinny horns. Those guys are sable antelopes, and they are the emblem animals of the Harambe Reserve. They're outlined on our big wooden sign so whenever they feel like they're in danger, instead of running away like most antelope would, they will stay and defend themselves. Now around this area here as well, you may notice there are quite a few strange protrusions coming out of the ground. And these are termite mounds. They're made of things like dust, dirt, clay, termite spit, all the really fun stuff. And they bake out in the sun and get really hard. So theoretically the animals could use them as scratching posts if they wanted to. Kind of like their own personal back scratchers. Now out there on the left, you might be able to see that tall, light tan antelope with the horns there. That is called an eland. And those elands are the second tallest out here after, of course, probably that giraffe that you guys see. But those elands, they reach around 6 feet tall at the shoulder. And out here on the right, of course, you'll see that Maasai giraffe. We can tell that it's a Maasai giraffe because of that dark puzzle-like pattern on its body. And of course, I'm sure most of us recognize giraffes for having those really long necks as well. They have the same amount of vertebrae in those necks as you and I do, which is 7. Theirs are just a lot larger than ours, hence why their necks are so much longer. And they can reach those long necks all the way up into the trees to eat the leaves. They can also lower them all the way down to drink water. You'll rarely find a giraffe sitting or laying down. In fact, they can take short power naps for up to 30 minutes while standing up. Out here on the right, you'll see a couple of different antelopes. So you're going to see these grayish-brown antelopes. Those are wildebeest. And then you'll see some cow-looking creatures with really long horns. Those are Ankole cattle. The Ankole cattle horns can grow to be around 3 to 4 feet in length. And although they look pretty heavy, they're mostly hollow. They contain a sponge-like honeycomb texture in those horns, and they have blood vessels running through. So when the blood circulates through their horns, it helps them regulate their body temperature. We're also getting a closer look at some of those Maasai giraffes here on our left. You'll notice on the tops of their heads, they have those fuzzy protrusions. Lucky for them, they have scent markers in their hooves. So they leave behind kind of smelly footprints, if you will. So they can smell where the other wildebeest have been walking, and that's how they know it. One of the largest monkey species. They can get up to about 100 pounds. But we can tell that they're still monkeys because they have tails. Monkeys have tails, whereas apes do not. And that was a pretty big animal. I'm thinking maybe if we keep heading this way, maybe we'll find something bigger. Something big that I know lives out here is an African bush elephant, and I have a pretty fun fact about them that I like to share. The bees have a safe place to make that honey, and those elephants are staying out of densely populated human areas, so it's a win-win situation for everyone involved. And that is called the elephant and bees. Also out here on the right, it looks like there are tusk marks in that clay there. That is red clay. And that's something that elephants can eat to help with their digestion. Now, a pretty good rule of thumb when you're going out elephant spotting is if you see a really big group of elephants all together, it's likely that they are all females, as elephants live in what are called matriarchal herds, which are basically just herds made up of females led by the oldest and wisest among them. The young males can live in the herd for a couple of years before they usually get kicked on out and end up on their own or in small groups of 2 to 3. Also out here, you may notice there are some more of those baobab trees. If an animal like an elephant were ever to get really thirsty and not have a good water source nearby, they can stick their tusks into the side of one of those trees, get the water flowing out, and drink it if they had to. But it does look like the elephants have a pretty good source of water up ahead here, and we are about to dive right into it. Which honestly, on a day like today, sounds pretty refreshing.
Right into the water, you see that?
Out here on the left, it looks like we found some greater flamingos. I'm sure most of us recognize flamingos for that pink color on them, but they don't start out that color when they're born. Kind of like the pink-backed pelicans we saw earlier, they start out more of a grayish-white. Brine and shrimp. Inside those creatures is something called keratin. Not keratin, but keratin. And that is what will turn those flamingo feathers pink. If you look on the left between the trees, you may be able to see some of those elephants as well as that baby elephant there. It might be a little hard to see, but you can kind of see them there. That is the matriarchal herd there. Out here on the left, you may also notice there's a huge pile of mud, and next to that pile of mud is a whole bunch of rhinos. That is a crash of southern white rhinos. A crash is the name of a group of rhinos. And they love that mud, man. They love to roll around in it. It's a behavior called wallowing. And not only does that mud keep them cool, but it also acts as a natural sunscreen and a natural bug repellent for them, so they do love that mud. And as you can see, they don't really get their name for their color. They're still pretty gray. It's believed they get the name white rhino from a mispronunciation of the Afrikaans word wijd, which means wide. They have really wide mouths that they use to eat things low to the ground, things like grasses and bushes. And those horns, of course, those horns are made of keratin, which is the same thing that our hair and our nails are made out of. And you can see their ears can rotate around, so they rely on their hearing a lot more than their eyesight, since their eyes are on either sides of their heads. They don't see as well as we do, so their ears can rotate like that so they can hear things around them better. Out here on the left, if you look in this very right corner down by those leafy bushes, you might see there is a cheetah laying down there. It's a little bit hard to spot, no pun intended. It's in kind of a weird spot, but I promise you there is a cheetah there. I'll go by nice and slow.
Oh yeah.
Now those cheetahs are some of the fastest land animals. They can get up to 60 miles per hour in about 3 seconds. They can only maintain that speed for a couple hundred yards though before they have to slow on down. There are also some of the few big cat species that go out hunting during the day. And we do have another big cat out here that's quite the opposite. We have one that hunts at night because it's nocturnal, and that is the lion, and you can see one up here on the hill on that rock up there. Now nocturnal means that those lions sleep during the day and they come out and do their thing at night. So as you can see, they're still sleeping. The female is down there as well. Now they'll get a little more active as it gets a little bit later. Their eyesight is around 6 times better than ours is at night, so it makes sense why they would want to do most of their business pretty late. So we'll let them keep taking that power nap and keep on moving here. Now those males and females have distinct roles in those prides. The females do most of the hunting while the males will stay behind. Antelopes here are called waterbuck, and I'd say they're pretty well named as they have a special oil in their hair that makes them semi-waterproof, which is pretty neat. Out here on the left, you may notice some weird holes in the ground, and actually, it looks like there are some warthogs out here. They're kind of doing their best impression of a rock right now, though. If you look towards the back and see something that looks kind of like a hairy rock, that is a warthog. Now, those warthogs are some of the few burrowing mammals. They use the tusks on the top and bottoms of their mouths to dig out those holes, and they do spend most of their day down in those burrows, so it's cool that we're seeing some up top. We might get a better look as we come around this curve here. Let's see. Yep, you can see them right in this sunspot here on our left. And also for my friends on the right, I didn't see any ostriches, but it looks like eggs are the largest bird eggs. They weigh around 3 pounds. They're pretty heavy, at least for an egg, I'd say. And now we're getting close to the warden's post here. The warden is a participant in that elephant and bees project I mentioned earlier. So if you see a yellow wooden triangle suspended by 2 wooden posts, that is going to be a beehive out there. The warden's post is also home to one of the domesticated animals out here on the reserve. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the Nigerian dwarf goats. Check them out. There's one on the roof of the car. Things are getting wild out here. Not only are those goats super cute, but weirdly enough, they're also known for having really good milk. So the warden keeps them around and sells their milk out in town. He has done a lot of research into taking care of those goats though, and I recommend you guys do the same if you ever want to get a pet. Make sure you do a lot of research so that you know how to properly care for them. And right now we are getting close to the home stretch of our journey here, but never fear friends, there are still plenty of animal related things you can do afterwards, such as taking the Gorilla Falls exploration trails. Out there you might see some of the same animals we saw today, as well as a whole bunch that we didn't. Now, spoiler alert, the name gives away the gorilla part, but I do encourage you guys to check it out and see what else might be out there. Or if you feel like you've seen enough African animals for one day, you can travel on over to Asia and take the Maharaja Jungle Check. Out there they have South Asian animals, things like tigers, water buffalo, different kinds of birds. It's really cool, definitely worth checking out as well. But in the meantime, we're getting close to what I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the reserve, the waterfalls. And if I have any wilderness explorers on board today, the truck you're on board is the Simba one. So after our journey, you're gonna want to find your nearest wilderness explorer guide, let them know what truck you're on, and they'll give you your badge. And if you're like, I don't really know what those words mean, that's totally cool. I do encourage you guys to check out those wilderness explorers.
There's our bus. Going back to the hotel. So that's the animal kingdom right there. We're pretty tired. Mike's talking to the driver. Wow, we're the only one here. This time 5:30. So nobody in the bus, just three of us and the driver. Say something.
On the way back to the hotel, all day at Animal Kingdom, we're tired, hungry, thirsty, ready to go.
So that was our very good experience at Animal Kingdom, one of the Disney park. We didn't watch all of it. We missed a lot of other things like the monkey place or the tiger place or the restaurants. But we're ready to go home. We are tired and we are hungry, so we are ready to go back to the hotel. As you can see, there are cable cars on the top. Those are transferring people from their hotels to one of the Disney parks. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. That's sure that is bright sun's reflection in the water. Now we are back at our room. We just had our very good dinner and we're waiting for the fireworks at Disney, then go to the pool to cool down for the day so that we can have a very good night's sleep. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. You take care. Bye.